I am Navreet, HR business partner with Intuit India and co-chair for Tech Women at Intuit. And our panelists for today are Valli, Vice President of Engineering at United Health Group, Sairee Chahal, founder and CEO of SHEROES, an online ecosystem for women. She's also on the board of directors for Paytm Payments Bank. Jyoti Ahuja, she's Director of Engineering, responsible for financial data platform at Intuit India. Saurabh Saxena, Vice President and Product Development Leader for QuickBooks Online Advanced and QuickBooks Desktop. Welcome again, everyone. Our topic for today's panel discussion is digital transformation in COVID era. Now, COVID-19 is the new word which is added to our diction, and it has brought new urgency in accelerating the pace of digital transformation. We saw rapid migration to the cloud, remote working, and all of which in a span of few months, which otherwise would have been a multi-year journey. We witnessed a quantum leap in digital adoption, both at the organization and industry levels. And it has impacted each one of us in more than one ways. Now, going to office for most of us means just stepping into the next room and opening up the laptop. And for my 8-year-old son, it's the same. He goes into his room, opens up his laptop, and that's his playground. Even his physical education classes are online. And brick and mortar industries like health and fitness saw 360-degree change, and we are completely digital now. Something we would have never imagined earlier. Do we see these changes across the industries, or it is in pockets? So let's hear from our panel on their experience of digital transformation in context of the industry they're operating in. Sairee, my first question would be to you. SHEROES is a platform organization with all digital presence. What is your experience with this entire change?
All right. First of all, thank you for having me here. And so I think COVID's been a mixed bag. First of all, just to give you a little more context, I have always believed that internet is the biggest tool for social mobility for a lot of women who are spread all across the country, and for a long time, actually, as a company, we've advocated remote work. In fact, we run one of the largest remote work benches in the country, which is an all women, 10,000 women work remotely, and this has been happening. But this was always a hard business to sell because nobody would buy remote as a viable option. So COVID changed that, and we're seeing an acceleration in that adoption. But apart from that, just to give you a little context, 5 years ago, there were only about 10 million women online in India. And that number, post 2017 has become 300 million women online. And what that means is, there is a whole new first time audience. But pre-COVID, we were always hoping to increase adoption, right? Women using more internet and more digital for everything, right? For learning, for telemedicine, for digital payments, for education, and it was still a climb up. We were still away from our desired state, and COVID changed that. So just to give you again some reference and graphs, we were a community of about 16 million women in February, and by the time the lockdown ended in June, we were 21 million. So that's the fastest user growth we saw because women were proactively coming online, and because everything had moved online, right? Kids went online and payments went online and government services were only available online. So it was an imperative. And I think in hindsight, it was one of the best triggers to enable digital adoption. And digital is a huge tool for social mobility for women. It increases their access to online identities, online networks, support around well-being, access to money. So we think it's been a good outcome, but at the same time, we run a helpline, and we saw that that our number of queries around abuse and anxiety and domestic violence went up. It was a traumatic 5 months, I guess. And for a lot of women, the act of getting up in the morning and going out the house is almost an act of rebellion. It's a way of getting away and finding some me space. So that went away, and obviously we did some stuff to counter that, but so it's been a mixed bag for us.
Yeah. Thanks you, Sairee, for sharing this. This is like from it's a different experience, or we're hearing from an industry which is totally different than in which we are operating. So thanks for sharing these experiences. Jyoti, my next question to you is on similar lines. What has been the experience when it comes to FDP?
Right. Hey, everyone. First of all, let me expand what FTP is. It's financial data platform, and it's the platform for Intuit to get all our customers' financial data into the ecosystem, and that's what the platform powers. And as Sairee mentioned, even though a lot of dominance was on internet already, COVID just made it exponentially higher, because what transformation was happening before at its pace just got mightily it multiplied by a very high number, because now it's not a question of additional profit, it's a question of sustenance, it's a question of existence for a lot of businesses, for a lot of customers as well. And therefore what's also important is that at the pace the platform where it was evolving before and what it needs to now, that becomes very different as well, because now more and more customers would want to come. It becomes even more important to make it very seamless for businesses, for startups to come and launch themselves up, and also to reduce the costs. For instance, a lot of startups that we work with at Intuit as part of Intuit Circles grapple with the fact that which cloud provider they should use and which one would give them the maximum benefit with respect to cost, resource usage, and their own employee engagement. And that becomes a business and a critical part of the platform now. So that's one part. And then as everything has the other, every coin has the other side as well. There is a side on the platform and how businesses are interacting also, is that it is hard for everyone to think of doing new business at this time, because of the fact that consumers are changing their patterns, because of the fact that the cash flow in the industry is limited. So there are pros and cons, but platforms have a huge play, and they will continue to play in the post-COVID world.
Thanks, Jyoti. Saurabh, you're up next.
I think I agree what Sairee and Jyoti said. And before I go and talk about the impact that I saw in the business that I lead, the first thing is that it's very, very real. We all are seeing it. We all are experiencing it every single day. We saw how this pandemic has an impact on our life and livelihood. And at the same time, it also acted as a catalyst for change. In fact, it is amplifying the need for the adoption of the newer technologies as well as for the digital transformation. There is a data that indicates that we have about 30% increase in the digital transformation deals that we saw, and probably 80% increase in the cloud spending that we had. Now, coming back to the impact and how we are seeing this, I lead an offering at Intuit called as QuickBooks Desktop. It serves about 3 million customers and is about $2 billion revenue for Intuit. We have a lot of online component into this product, like payments, like payroll. And a few years back, we took a decision that we will host all of the services onto the public cloud. Intuit used to be at the private data centers or our own data centers. And I think that journey that we did 3 years back has really, really helped us to scale the platform onto the public cloud. The second one, which we are seeing a bit of trend, is there are a lot of brick and mortar companies where they are trying to right now set up their online stores, and our products experiences are supporting that. So that's a big change in the mindset that we are seeing. The third big one is we have to revamp our sales channel strategy, because as Jyoti said, there are changes in how the consumer behaviors are. Few years back, setting up online channel or online store was more of a discretionary for brick and mortar companies, but now it's very relevant to them. So I think overall we are seeing a big impact. We are seeing a big acceleration towards the online or public cloud, and these are very real changes that we are seeing.
Thanks, Saurabh, for sharing your views. you know, I'm hearing a lot about the consumer behavior. Now, that's something I really want to get into, but just before that, I'll ask one important question, and that's something about, you know, that all of us has been experiences, that is Zoom. Now, Zoom has emerged as a story of huge disruptive innovation across the globe. It gained worldwide adoption from corporates to remote learning to entertainment. And I'm sure each one of us must have attended at least one Zoom party throughout this pandemic time. And to the extent that Zoom is now a verb, it'll definitely go into our branding lessons, the way Xerox, etc., were a verb. Now Zoom is a verb. Now, it's not that the video conferencing platforms or product were not there in the market. We have big players out there, and and they've been quite successful. But what customer insights did Zoom tap to emerge strongly during this pandemic? And I really would want to hear your views on what are the learnings that can be drawn from this Zoom disruption while designing products and platforms. Saurabh, I'll go to you first to answer this question.
Sure, Navreet. And I think, yeah, of course, we all are experiencing Zoom every single day, every single minute. Before I talk about Zoom, I just want to tell a small story around an experience that we had at Intuit. So about 6-7 years back, we launched our first network effect platform in one of our product, where the idea was that we'll create a platform where customers can share their report templates and then consume the report templates. So it's a two-sided of the network where when I'm using the product, I can press a button and I can share the report that I'm going to use with all my fellow 3 million customers. And also I can go to that platform and can consume that. I was the initiative manager for that project. Throughout the journey, the only thought we all had in our mind was how to make it successful. We did every single thing to make sure that this platform experience is going to be awesome. Customers are going to love that. We launched it, and then we realized that, you know what, one big thing that we missed is that what if we are successful? And that's exactly happened. We were very successful, and in 3 days, we broke the platform. Um, that point of time, we were using a third-party platform. And interestingly enough, the same platform was shared by another big company. So we started impacting their reporting systems. It was an embarrassment because we were successful and we were not able to scale. So we have to take this down, offering, fix a lot of things, and then finally launch it again. We all have seen that how Zoom has to scale from 20 million to 300 million overnight. That became the de facto standard right now. One thing that Scott Cook, who was our founder, always taught us is that when you launch a new offering, when you launch a new product, always think about your success. What if you are successful? How can you scale? And I think one thing what really helped Zoom was how to scale onto the public cloud. They made a decision to move their data centers to public cloud, and that really helped. I think there is still in AWS and some part in Oracle Cloud, but that really helps Zoom to scale. The second one, I mean, if you see the other big players, whether it's Netflix or Dropbox, either they are 100% the public cloud, or some of them are still in the hybrid model. Some of them are majority are their own data center. But first learning was that this public cloud move was really helping to scale. And if there's any organization who is still trying to figure it out, should I move or not? I think it's already too late. The second one, big one, that as a company we are also dealing with, and we have saw that there's a lot of focus on the data security. We saw in last few months a lot of security breaches that came across, and as a company at Intuit, we always give the topmost attention and priority for making sure customers' data are safe and secure. With Zoom, we all know what happened with Zoom bombing and then folks showing up into those meetings. So that's another learning. The third learning was the speed at which you need to operate. I think as Jyoti said, right, the definition of platform and how we are developing those platforms has changed. I'll give you this example. We used to have a e-commerce platform where we accept 50% order from web and 50% care assisted orders. So the experience is that either you can go to web and order, but 50% of the customer prefers to call an agent use a specific page to put their credit card information and then give the order. When the pandemic hit, there was no agent available. We have to operate in almost like in 3 to 4 days. We have to move a system so that every single order can be accepted over web. It was not simple. It was not simple translation because we have to put a system where through phone, we can actually have customers enter their credit card data and then finally we accept the order. Uh, in short summary, Navreet, what I feel is that right now what we all are trying to do is to see how we can sustain the business continuity to deal with what is happening right now. But it's very important for all the organization to create the strategy on moving forward, how we'll scale in the new normal, or probably create a more durable advantage for the company post-COVID. And I assume post-COVID will be from 1st Jan. So, but that's what my summary is.
Thanks, Saurabh. Thanks for sharing that. Visualize your success and the ability to scale. That's shouting very loud, and that's coming very clearly from this. Valli couldn't join earlier, and she's just now joined. And welcome, Valli, and thank you for joining the panel today. I don't know if you were there when I asked this question. The question is more around, the Zoom story and what are our learnings from the disruption that is caused by Zoom, or what are our learning by seeing that the way Zoom has disrupted this entire video conferencing world. So I would, my next question, the same question to you. Healthcare industry is a very high touch point industry, and with digital acceleration, what are the things that you are seeing? And then rather we'll move to the next question, that what is from your point of view are learnings that we can apply, or that you see that your organization or industry has applied? Valli, are you there?
Yes, now I unmuted myself.
Thank
So
you.
I wanted to apologize. I'm sorry I'm late, but this is what happened to me when work and home collided. I had a small water emergency in the garden, so I had to take care of it. But great question that you have. In the healthcare industry, this is not something new. So there are two or three things that we've learned during this COVID era. And, Saurabh already talked a lot about from just a pure tech perspective. So I wanted to give you a little bit of flavor on how businesses are getting impacted, right? There's a lot of 2 years or 3 years ago, many companies piloted telehealth, right? And you would barely have anybody. They would do a lot of segmentation analysis, and everybody would be like, people who would go to telehealth is only who don't have a doctor or who don't have a preference for a particular doctor. They just want to see a doctor. And for small things like I have a fever, I need something, these are the things. But the healthcare industry was a little bit kind of like, how can I digitize my my offerings, various offerings? Telehealth is just one example. And with the COVID era, now you've seen that almost 90% of people, they don't want to go to the hospital. They want to see the doctor, but through telehealth. Same thing with distribution of medicines, right? Before, you would just go take a prescription and give. Now logistics has become a big thing, right? Everybody wants, you've seen telehealth, then you have to figure out how you're going to get that medicine home. You have to figure out how, if you have insurance, how you're going to upload all those forms and all of these things. So in the last 9 months, there has been a rapid movement towards digitization, which is all good. um, Talking about post COVID, like Saurabh said, hopefully January 1st would be post COVID. But post COVID, there are two or three things that come to mind. I think that this digitization is here to stay. Maybe it won't be 90%. Some behaviors, people would still like to have the high touch. Like, they want to go to the doctor and the doctor needs to feel their pulse. And, some people have that. And I think it will still be there. But I think the digitization is here to go. So it won't be 90% again going back to the hospital. Maybe, 30% of people will go to the hospital and the remaining folks will be here. A lot of things around healthcare has, from an insurance, from actual caregiving, have become very digitized, right? If you take an example of in India, in Hyderabad, Vijaya Diagnostics is like one of those big people or whatever digitizing, Jeep, he says,
Is
you've
there a
seen digitization. Are you there?
yes, yes. So there's a little bit of disruption that is coming, so that's
Okay. So what I meant to say was there's digitization in every form of life, and tech has to step up. No longer it's and scaling is so important, like Saurabh has talked about. Scaling is the most important thing.
thanks, Wally. Jyoti, can we have your views on this?
Yep. I totally agree with what Saurabh and Wally said. And I just want to add another perspective on Zoom success and how we are seeing it multiple times with different products as well, is about the experience, the user experience with the product. And that also is one of the critical factors of how these platforms are made that cause these huge network effects to come into play, the way we are seeing it with Zoom right now, what we saw with Uber, Lyft, Airbnb. So there are many examples that have seen the network effects platform, network effects, and their impact to the business. And if you see Zoom, small features, but very significant ones, like a background that you see behind us, some of us, right? Like those things weren't thought before by these multiple video conferencing softwares that used to exist. And Zoom came in, they listened to their customers, and a lot of new prospects came in to try these cool new innovative features, the backgrounds, the filters, and they are so important that you focus on your existing customers and what their needs are, and sometimes slow down to focus on your current customers than to go maniacally after new prospects, because at some point you got to make these trade-offs as to what would you focus on. And very similar example we see in our own backyard with one of our own personal finance management softwares that Intuit has, which is Mint. And Mint has been on this platform journey as well. And now we have also realized that there is so much that need to be done, and we got to evolve with the needs of our customers and focus on this experience part as well. And that's what our product is now going to be focusing on, and has been on this journey. And all of these learnings have come in from these network effects that we have seen, such as Zoom and others in the past.
Thanks, Jyoti. Listening to the customer is key. I totally agree. Thanks. Sairee, next you are up.
Right. So, look, I think it's easy to sort of think that Zoom is riding the COVID wave, but at least in the startup world, overnight success takes 10 years. So I think you have to be, the road to success is paved with failures. So for a long time, Zoom was a write-off, and so was everybody else, perhaps in the video conferencing world, and we were all flying around in planes and sort of getting the meetings. So it kind of, I think, held its ground just in terms of the tenacity and holding to the vision that it set out to have in the first place. And I think the success of Zoom is as much as in building a great product, but it's also in reimagining the world to be a remote first world, right? And I think and I think totally well deserved in terms of not only having a vision but executing on it. And the pace of change and everything that sort of mentioned applies here, from a product perspective. But I do believe that massive changes need a lot of, it's a lot of foundational work that goes into it, and we don't really get to see that work, and most of it is just very unsexy and super unsuccessful in terms of the journey that it is, right? So I think, all platforms need to evolve and need to sort of come to terms with the market they are in. and Zoom was ready for that, and they were ready for that because they knew every possible use case, or they really had the data uh, to understand what consumers really want. And this wouldn't have been possible if they were a brand new kid on the block, really.
Thanks, Sairee. So what I'm hearing is that lead with data, have those customer insights, and but more importantly, I think so resilience and knowing that yes, you know your work and be there in the market and find the right opportunity to rise.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Jyoti, earlier in the conversation, you did say that customer is changing their patterns or they're changing their behavior. So customer or the consumer are central to what we do, and it's very very important to understand in which way they are going or what are the different trends that we are seeing. So what are the impacts that you're seeing? That how do you think that we should the organizations should understand the consumer behavior, or what patterns are that we are seeing across the industry and accordingly that we need to change now?
Sure. I think the customers start from us first. So let's talk about how our behaviors are changing. Starting from, as you mentioned, education coming completely home to us rather than sending children over, and all our social interactions becoming digital as well. I, we are all social animals, but nobody would have thought that everything to do with social, from birthday parties to attending weddings, is all of a sudden going to be on digital platforms. And that's happening to everybody. That's happening to us as people. That's happening to our consumers as well. And there are a couple of things that I want to talk about specifically from the consumer space. And and Valli also pointed out that there are few sectors that are going through massive change, and health sector being one of them. There were so many companies before on telemedicine and telehealth earlier on, and we were still debating and still preferring to go see the doctor ourselves, and we see that customers and patients feel very free to now just call up the doctor and do the consultation online. The second aspect is on spending. Like I see my parents and elderly in the family who are now embracing the digital way of shopping much more than what they were doing before. My dad, for instance, used to be scared of even going to ATM. What if my card gets stuck? What if the money doesn't come, but my account gets debited? Like, he would be worried about those things, and then all of a sudden I see him like, okay, just doing my bank to bank transfers, right? So some of those changes are so close to home. Then the third one I want to talk about is on the focus for security. Like with more and more customers moving over, the privacy, the data concerns, making sure that the financial transactions are safe and secure, and our customers' data is kept sacrosanct, has become very important for companies, and especially for Intuit, wherein we deal, our bread and butter is on financial data, and therefore more than any time before, this is the time to double down and focus and continue to have focus on the security aspects and the privacy aspects of our customers' data. And the last one I want to talk about, Navreet, is about the the different ways in which customers have started to interact with the businesses, even though it's in the mix of digital versus in person. And one of the examples is these pickup areas, like Walmart's, Lowe's of the world, that you do the online shopping, but you don't go inside the store to pick up. There are pickup zones, and then you just go and pick up your stuff, no human interaction. And that is how the new patterns are emerging with respect to remote working, that you got to be thinking about that, how can we do this not either or, but somewhere in between as well. And that's the spectrum that businesses are thinking, given the changes of the patterns here.
Thanks, Jyoti. Saurabh, next is up.
Yeah, and I'll go and share. I think first, as personally as a consumer, what Jyoti said, right? How we are, how it's changing. For me, when my kid was born, I was kind of a father who will, like, even if you have like 100-degree fever, I'll rush doctor. Anything, I will always go to, let's go to Kormangla and let's see a doctor. Personally, for me, I never believed that there's anything called as virtual care or digital health. Care means for personal experience. If I'm dealing with something, I want doctor to touch me, see me that, hey, you know what, everything is okay. So from that day, for a few days back, I had a mild throat infection, and I was like, is this COVID? Um, I went and saw my doctor on Practo, and I was looking at his eyes, and he said, Saurabh, you're okay. And I was like, you know what, I trust you now, because I don't want to come to your clinic, but I just, the way you are telling me, I trust you. And I realized myself that this is such a big change. I am just looking at him so that he can look into my eyes and say, you're okay, and I'll be done. I know he cannot see my throat. I know he cannot, I can just explain few things, but you know, doctor don't listen for too long. But I just want him to tell that you are okay. And next day I became fine. I think that is changing. That is a big change in mindset. In fact, I feel that for our next generation, this is the default. Why you have to wait in a clinic? Why you have to go to different places and spend a lot of hours on the waiting? You just go to Zoom, talk to doctor. Um, the second thing, coming back to the products, right? As I shared earlier, we are seeing definitely a change in the consumer behavior. Consumers are now okay to have their data onto the cloud versus just from in-prem. Uh, and recently, Intuit has acquired a company called ThreadGecko, which is now a QB commerce product for Intuit. And what this product does is that it helps you to sell your offerings through multiple channels across industry, right? So you can sell at Amazon, you can sell at different channels. One big part of this offering is also that if you are a brick and mortar shop, in a click, you can actually set your online store. And this is something is going to really help us scale, not only for B2C, but we are also seeing a B2B businesses trying to set up their online stores, so that they don't need to go show the sample to somebody and say, this is what the product is. So that's something which is very big. The second one, I think, because businesses are now reaching to the remote markets, these platforms are creating a lot of interesting job categories and definitely newer categories. The third thing I want to add is 2 years back, Intuit declared 5 big bets for the company. And when we see now and during this COVID period, they all are so durable. And one of them was around virtual expert platform. 2 years back, we decided that, or we thought that the future is going to be more around giving an ability to our customers so that they can come to our platform. And we are acting as a platform where we can connect a consumer or a customer to an expert so that we can actually give them a confidence when they're using our products. And think about it, that how many times when we decided that, you know what, this time we are going to do tax filing online, we are going to do ourselves. We filled 6 forms, and 7th form is the last form, but there's one column which says that, which asks something, and we was like, really, I don't know this. And then we go to Google, we figure it out, and then finally said, you know, leave it, let's give it to somebody else. Well, how Intuit is offering is that our strategy around AI-driven platform has also makes the humanized experience. So if I'm at that column, I can press a button, and actually I can get a live support just for that 30 seconds to ask somebody, am I right? This person can go all over the place, look into this and say, Saurabh, you're good. This is the confidence that I want, that I'm using when I'm using the products. And Intuit is actually doing massive innovation in this space. So net, while consumer experiences are changing, personally, we all are also changing. Our products are changing. Platform is getting more humanized right now. And this is such an amazing place to see the kind of innovation that we are going to see in next few years.
Wow, humanizing the technology. That is an awesome story. And you know, it's a perfect segue to my question to Valli. You know, what Saurabh shared was the consumer insight in the healthcare industry. Like, you know, when you go to a clinic, or what is the experience that you have. From the other side, Valli, can you just share with the audience that how are you, you know, capitalizing on these consumer insights, or what you're seeing in change in the consumer pattern, and then bringing those changes at the organization end?
Yeah, absolutely. I think from a healthcare industry perspective, innovation has become really key. And when I talk about innovation, it's not, there are various kinds of innovations, right? Right now, we are forced to innovate because consumer pattern has changed. It is no longer about sending physically giving some paperwork, because whether we like it or not, there's a lot of paperwork involved in the healthcare industry, whether it's from an insurance perspective, or whether you're trying to get some prescription, whether you're going and seeing a doctor, copay, all of these things, right? So what is important, and what I see the healthcare industry do is quickly take advantage of these changing consumer behaviors and quickly adapting to offer that many kind of solutions. So while scale and before, while perfection was really important, right now I feel like, because of the situation and the pandemic that we are in, perfection is not what is required. It is like point in solution. So if somebody is able to, if I'm able to come back and say, hey, there is a segment of people, like for example older people like my parents, then they are more at risk, and they're not that computer savvy, right? So my dad, I have to give him instructions. He writes it on a piece of paper and he sticks it by the computer to just go in and log in and check his email, right? So this is a segment, but this is the high risk segment that we see, right? We don't want them to be in the hospitals, but they're not that digitally savvy. To make things easier for them, right? How do you make things easier for them? So there's a lot of AI, there's a lot of chatbots that are involved, where, just like how Saurabh alluded to, saying, hey, I don't need to get frustrated and, abandon that at some point. I will have, I just need to click this, and then somebody is going to talk through and say, sir, please click on this, and then please submit this, and do you have a scanned copy of you have a scanned copy of your Aadhaar card, or whatever, your insurance card or whatever. So I think that figuring out and getting the right balance of understanding and taking advantage of the change in the moment is very important for technology companies. Get the solution out there while you're working on. So it's not like you've given a point solution and then, tech is saying tada bye bye, right? Business is going on, and you are, then perfecting, you are then scaling in the background, you are then taking advantage of so many different things that are happening, right? And the open source market has so many tech solutions today that really the innovation comes in stitching together all these different solutions together to make it comprehensive. So I think those are the points that, from a digitization, how is the healthcare industry taking advantage of the change in consumer behavior, is these are the things that tech has to think through.
Thanks, Valli. Thank you very much. Sairee, my question to you on the similar lines is, your world is quite complex. You are dealing with humans, you're dealing with the emotions, and there are a lot of consumer insights that come, and not only from the platform, but otherwise, with the pandemic, the wellness. Earlier you did talk about, uh, you know, some domestic violence, some issues, or mental health issues that people are facing during pandemic. How are you using technology and through these consumer behavior, and applying back your learnings to make the experience better?
Absolutely. So look, I think we are while we deal with millions and millions of consumers every week, we are at heart a technology company. And why I say that is because that's the only way to really scale, right? So we're a team of 40-45 people. So we're a small tech startup, but we have 21 million users, 3-4 business lines. There's always some lab experiments running, and if we were not tinkering with code enough, it's kind of impossible to do this. But I want to share some really specific ways in which we have used technology. So one of which is, so we're a women only platform, and safety and trust is a big part of our narrative. That's precisely the reason why women are able to do a lot within the ecosystem. So we built our own gender algorithm on the network. So when you log in as a user, while you say who you are and you use the ID that you use, we have been able to put together using machine learning and data modeling that, hey, we want to make sure if you say you're a woman, and there is nobody with a fake profile on the network. So that's one use case. Second, we run a helpline, which is a chat-based counseling helpline, and almost 2 million women have used that helpline. And we were only able to do it because one, women even in low network areas can use a simple, very easy to use chat, and and there is a playbook of responses we've been collating. So the job of the counselor actually gets easier over time. So even though there's a human at the interface, a human being has a lot of help from the playbook that we've been able to build. And thirdly, I think the way India is going, I think we're still a country with large aspirations around income opportunities, around easing access, around being able to find that growth that, let's say, some of us came looking to, we're, everybody in India is a migrant to cities in some ways, and the opportunities were in cities. But that has changed completely, because between micro entrepreneurship and remote work, I think this is a complete democratization of opportunities, and obviously it's all riding on technology. Social commerce is another big trend on which the whole network is sort of based on. Every woman, almost, there are almost 200 million women who are micro entrepreneurs, because they do what they do, but they do it in their setup, and they use technology to enable payments to reach to their customers, to sort of keep their accounts and everything else. And fourth is just support around well-being, right? So, early days of internet saw communities like Reddit become, online communities, but the vibe was very different. But on Sheroes, you could ask for free health advice, you could look for legal advice, you could look for parenting, career advice, all of that, all within communities. So you could speak to other peers, you could speak to experts, uh, all very easily. And I think this access is magical, because it sets up everyone in an equal opportunity sort of a way. And I guess that's the role of technology. And for us, all this can happen because we can play with gold.
Thanks, Sairee. We have around a little above 15 minutes left, and I do have two more questions. So what I'll do is I'll split these two questions. I really want to bring this up to round off the panel discussion. So I'll ask the question, and maybe for the first one, two speakers can, two panelists can share their views, and for the other one, two panelists can share views. This question is more about, I think, so this is something for the audience that I wanted, to ask this question. Overnight, employees or the audience and all of us, we were thrown into new challenges and circumstances, because there's an accelerated, speed of being being digitized, or the way we are working, right? And it has also impacted our learning. There are new expectations that are coming from the employee, and and during this time, how do you think that as an employee or as an individual, what is the mindset that one can lead themselves with to cope up with the situation? And this question is primarily from the point of view of learning and upskilling. Saurabh, I will look towards you to answer this question first.
Yeah, sure. And again, I'll go with the example of what Valli shared about sharing how helping the parent on the email. So my dad used Excel. He's like a power user. Power user means always double click on the Excel and type a lot of things to manage his stocks and other things. One day he called me and he was very angry. He said, "I don't know where is my file." And I was like, "Dad, it should be there on your laptop." He said, there is so much of data and I don't know what to do this. So I struggled to figure it out. What is the best way I can actually look at his laptop? So I said that I'm going to install something on your machine so that I can do a virtual connect. And then in 30 minutes, I realized that it's almost impossible to sit here and explain him on how to install, like log me in kind of thing. So what I did is that I took my friend's help and finally moved his data to Google Doc. Even today, he's so happy about this, that, you know what, I'm making a change and you are sitting in Bangalore, you can see that change. Keeps asking me, where is my file now? And I said, you know what, you delete your file that's there on the desktop, your data, you go to this link, and whenever you type, next time when you'll come, you'll see the same data. And he's still wondering that how exactly when I'm typing something, you are seeing from your side. So one day I took 30 minutes class on how it works. Finally told me that I don't know much, but you know what, I just love this. And I'm just amazed that I think Jyoti or somebody called Sairee, you called out, right, that how these experiences are helping all of us to learn so quickly, and then really appreciate the value that these technologies are bringing in. I think they can't appreciate the cloud, but they can appreciate the advantage that they are getting. I feel that this environment, Navreet, has created more of a level playing right ground for now. There's a lot of investment on AI that is happening, that is helping the organization to optimize their business's process to deliver better and more personalized experience for our customers. Um, in terms of learning, I think this is probably creating a little bit more demand on skills around AI, ML, data science, and probably a lot of skills for the future. And that's what we'll continue to see that. The second thing is, I feel this is a time when we are actually seeing a real practical use of augmented reality and virtual reality. I recently saw a video where this school is trying to give this virtual reality and augmented reality experience to kids. Um, I in the past, I felt this is more just for fun, but I think now I'm realizing that this is actually real. This will really help to educate the kids. Um, in terms of employees and in terms of leaders, right? I think a lot of things are changing because some of the behaviors like critical thinking are going to be much more important than your coding skills. If you continue like this trend, probably one day, 20 years from now, we'll just tell computer that write a program to find prime numbers. Um, and then computer will write that. We have seen this tech is available right now. But I think the skills that robot and programming language cannot replace, critical thinking, how you can manage and recognize emotions that can enhance your teamwork. Nobody can replace that skills. And I think they are getting more, they will see more and more of that. Uh, the last one, I would say that I feel that the whole learning and has probably got an acceleration for probably 10 years now. Personally, I'm just amazed that these small platforms that are helping us to teach and learn. For example, I was onto this platform where I took a class for 1 hour, where this person taught all of us how to grow microgreens. We pay 300 rupees, 50 employees, 50 people, and then finally, we all were very happy about that session. I believe we are in the industry that if you know one thing that you can teach, just one thing that you are expert on, doesn't matter how big or how small it is, you can do a lot of magics because what you want to teach, there will be consumer that you want to learn. I was onto that platform and I realized that this is giving an ability that, because I started learning to see how I can learn bit of cooking, but now I saw that I can go to this platform. I say I want to learn how to cook this dish, and a cook or a five-star chef will come and actually teach us. They'll charge for just an hour basis. Um, there is no better world like this. Um, and every day I get a surprise. For last 2 months, I'm learning yoga on Zoom, and having a personal trainer on Zoom, which I never thought could have ever happened. But um, I feel that this all has given us tremendous opportunity to learn, and probably we all should take use of it, not only learn but also to teach. If you are good at something, please teach others. That's the best way to do it right now.
Thanks, Saurabh. Critical thinking, but not on a hungry stomach. Can get it. Valli, can we have you next to share your views on this topic?
Yeah, I think, in addition to all that Saurabh covered, I've realized that one of the skill set that is core during this pandemic is the learning agility. So learn fast, learn quickly, and apply that learning. So it's no more about, okay, you know what, I've learned something and I'm going to wait for an opportunity to apply. The opportunity is at your door now. So you have no choice but to learn different things, right? Whether it is learning from an AI and ML perspective, because data is coming at you from all different areas, and you're trying, as a business, you're trying to take advantage of all the insights that you get from the data and apply it, right? So apply it immediately. To learning how to do yoga via Zoom. Nobody is here to correct your posture, and you have to, instead of only seeing, now you're seeing and hearing. right? Somebody is telling you, okay, you know what, raise up a little bit, or drop your one part or the other part of your body. So our learning agility has increased, the critical thinking plus the learning agility. Like, you don't have the time to say, I'm going to learn it slow, and then I'm going to do something. No, you have to learn quick, you have to learn fast, and you have to apply fast. I think that is very key to anybody in any walk of life right now.
Yeah, well said. Learn, apply, and you also touched upon teaching others. Thank you, Ali. My last question for this panel discussion is on the next phase that everybody is so keenly waiting. And we did talk about after 2020, or in the month of January, is the next phase. Like, we are all there is talk of vaccines coming in, and hopefully we'll see a world which is COVID free. So what after that? World will be changed. And do you think that we see these changes, like this accelerated change? There is a change in the consumer behavior, there is change in the way we are operating. And while they work during this time, do you think these changes are here to stay, or do we go back to normal way of working? Would it be hybrid? How do you think the world will change, and what does it impact on organizations like us? And Jyoti, can I have you to share your views first?
Sure. I think the first thing that I want to talk about is um, how emotional the leadership has become. Just the leadership as an art itself, and the focus on being compassionate, having empathy, trying to learn, and applying those behaviors. I think that change has happened, and I hope and wish that, and I do believe that it has changed forever, and it should be that way as well. And that's such a nice thing to have that compassionate touch to the leadership, and what we have been teaching all of our employees and learning ourselves as well. So that's one. And then the second one is just on the consumer behaviors perspective, Navreet. I think some behaviors and the businesses and how they are changing, that also is going to stay. I'm for sure know that my dad will never go back to bank to withdraw money. Saurabh's dad will never go back to finding files on his desktop and will stay with the Google Drive, right? Like some of these behaviors, like the doctors, to Valli's case, and the doctor-patient interaction. Now that we have seen how powerful it could be, why would I spend an hour on the road to go stand in the queue for to see a doctor, right? I'll just set up an appointment and see the doctor from my home itself. So those things are definitely here to stay. And what I do believe should change, I am dying to get my traffic time back. I That's the me time that I'm really looking forward to. The vaccines come and the traffic that I used to dread. I am in love with that traffic, and I'm waiting. When is that gonna happen now? So I hope those things definitely will bring in. There'll be more acceptance to the traffic, to the infrastructure that we have now that we have missed it so much. So I do believe there are some very good changes that are here for good, and it's also going to get employment to a brand new sector, because the remoteness is make it so acceptable that we have employees working from any nook and corner of the world. So we don't have to worry about whether somebody can leave their home and their traditional environment and can work with an IT company. Yeah, why not? We'll make it happen, and the way we are shipping we are shipping laptops home, we are shipping chairs, we are shipping T-shirts that we are wearing. Like, everything is a possibility. So I think from an employment and an industry perspective, it's a good change, and it's changed for good.
In every time, sorry to jump in, but I just can't resist on Jyoti's comment about getting back the traffic time. And I'm visualizing that we'll never honk right now. We'll tell each other, take your time, no hurry.
Yeah.
I love it.
You won't believe I was about to say that, like, look, did we ever imagine staying in Bangalore we would ever say that I want my traffic back? But I think so that's the me time, that's the time we are all longing to see other people on the road. So that's where it is coming from. So totally agree. And maybe it will just get some traffic sense. One of the side effects of COVID. All right. Sairee.
All right. So look, I think you can never put the genie back in the bottle, right? And I think this uh, and from a very zoom out perspective, look, I think as human beings, we've completely defiled the planet. We have been encroaching on on the space that belongs to animals and plants, and of course I think environmental degradation can't be ignored. And the pandemic was really a time to sort of make that amply clear. I think we've all seen pictures of clear skies being posted on social media, and we were also like awed by the fact that we had missed those. And second is, I think the fact that we're all connected. The idea of connected world was never more apparent, and I think we are all going to be more cognizant of that fact as we go along. uh, and uh, I do think we will see the we will see new trends emerge. I think the new trends are going to be a blend of what we would like and what we have, as opposed to what we really used to do. I think what we really used to do wasn't really the perfect fit. It wasn't really the optimal way to live. Actually, I think all of us realize that, right? Spending time with families, environmental factors, just the quality of life, right? And focus on health and well-being has come back. It took a pandemic to teach us that. So I don't think we're going back in the way we were. But look, I think, and my hope is that we become more mindful, right? More mindful, more considerate of other life forms around us, and more considerate of other human beings who we may not directly have something to do with, but we're as connected as it gets. And that's my hope for a post-pandemic world.
So well said, Sairee. Thank you very much. We are almost up on time, and this has been an awesome discussion. Thank you very much to all of you for sharing your key learnings. And there were so many aspects; it's so difficult to kind of summarize. But in case if I had to just talk about 3 or 4 key points that are takeaway from this discussion is one, scalability, very very important when you're designing the products or the platforms for the future. Focus on the data security, quickly learning from the glitches, learn from your mistake, learn from you fail to learn. Listen to the customer, make the right trade-offs, focus on whether you're focusing on the existing customers or going maniacally after the additional volume. So that's something. And last but not the least, focus on the speed is important. And I think so this pandemic has also made us learn that speed is important. But however, the thought that I want to leave the audience with is like, does it give you time to fail and learn from there? Because the expectation is to show the results faster.